Just give me one today. Ooh. I just want to see one of your titties, girl. I just want to see one of your titties, girl.
Is this a metal thing?
Yes. Little taste.
David, what is this?
It's pretty thick.
Great.
I have to kill a lot of people. Just tell me what you want me to fuck.
I have big tits and a tiny vagina.
Oil me up, Daddy.
I can't believe that Bryce prefers big tits.
Mistletoe alert.
This is butt country.
This guy was a real jerk.
How long can Hugo being pregnant?
Chomp, 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 a chomp.
Oh, you're such a dick, David.
Okay, everybody, put on your corpse handling gloves.
Ew.
Hoodie Picasso.
Horror!
I'm so scared.
We
Don't do that to me.
We just got off the horn with our social media guy who is a Zoomer, and he talked to us like we were old dads, and
Which
he
we
made a
are.
lot of sense. And now I'm just kind of reeling. I'm thinking about how stupid this setup looks, and I'm like, he's right. The kid is right. When he's right, he's right.
The kid's all right.
Hello and welcome to Horror Movie Talk Plus. That's right, folks. We've transcended genre boundaries and sometimes cover other movies. Fun movies, sexy movies, sleek movies. Make sure you rate and review and subscribe on iTunes, all that kind of stuff. Full video available on YouTube. Make sure to share it with people. That's how we grow. Also, check out our Patreon at patreon.com/horrormovietalk. It's the equivalent of the adult section at your video rental store. Who remembers those? Only the old guys. Also, check out our... if you want to add your pee to the community pool, go to horrormovietalk.com. Toss us a comment. Check out our Facebook group. Lots of nice people on there. We haven't plugged in a while. Nice people, love discussing movies, horror movies, regular movies. We got Barbie movies, all kinds of movies. Also, you can call us at 682-253-4468. As always, we have Miss crammed into the production booth. I'm me, and across from me sits Bryce Hanson.
Hi, David.
Hi, how are you doing today, buddy?
It's good to be here.
It's good to be alive. It's good to be part of this crazy fun world. Not as crazy as and fun as the world that we're going to be reviewing in the movie that we watched. Got a great show for you guys today. The movie we will be reviewing is Dungeons & Dragons: Honor Among Thieves. That's right. Chris Pine is in a new movie, and he's acting the way Chris Pine acts, and you'll love it. We'll start out by giving a brief review and our score for the movie, score on a scale 1 to 10. After we give our score, we'll get into spoilers, and really you can't spoil this movie, but we'll talk about things that happen, and so if you don't want them spoiled, Later in this episode, we will be doing Horror Movie Whores, which is where we take your voicemails, put your voice on the show. So excited to hear what you have to say. Hopefully you're not rambling and you get to the point.
Shots fired.
Dungeons & Dragons: Honor Among Thieves can be found right now for rent for like $6 on Amazon, or if you have a Paramount Plus subscription, you can just watch it. The synopsis for it goes a little something like: a charming thief with nothing to lose and everything to gain embarks on an epic quest to find a party of like-minded ne'er-do-wells who will help him obtain a long-lost relic. This plucky adventure takes a turn for the worst when evil red wizards start taking over the Neverwinter. Will our band of fun and quirky characters pull off the heist of a lifetime? Or will they end up a part of the army of the dead? My review for this movie goes Dungeons and Dragons Honor Among Thieves takes a game that historically has been considered one of the dorkiest, nerdiest, most basement-dwelling neckbeardian IPs in the free world and attempts to make it appeal to general audiences. Somehow they did it! They made Dungeons and Dragons digestible for your jock boyfriends, your football dads, your Christian mothers' boggle groups. Dungeons and Dragons Honor Among Thieves is a fun and easygoing romp through an incredible fantasy world that isn't bogged down by overripe lore or too serious stakes. Its comedy chops are great, which keeps the audience grounded almost as well as the fabulous casting. Chris Pine, Michelle Rodriguez, and Hugh Grant anchor the cast and keep everyone in lockstep for the duration. The pacing is appropriate and holds everyone's attention by constantly showcasing some of the coolest fantasy world elements I've ever seen. And I watch nothing but sci-fi and fantasy, so it's pretty cool, I'd say. If Star Trek can have a resurgence, there is absolutely no reason that Dungeons and Dragons shouldn't too. This IP has some of the most detailed and thorough content in the entire world, and that's not hyperbole, spanning tabletop games, multiple book series of, I think, maybe thousands of books, and dozens of video and card games. What we get in this movie is lots of fun, tons of great laughs, some astonishing eye candy, and the most generic plots and stakes. It's super generic. Just have a fun time at the action movie kind of thing. But sometimes generic is all right, you know? You are
You know, it was
muted.
very innovative in terms of generic action movie plot or like magic / superhero plot.
Okay.
Normally, there's a big laser that shoots up into the sky that's dangerous. This time,
Inverted.
the laser type object goes down from the sky. You know,
down.
it's like something you've never seen before.
That's right. Innovating. Yeah, sometimes generic is all right. And this is the exact case that proves that point. No one wants a deadly serious Dungeons and Dragons movie. That would be fucking horrible. No one plays a deadly serious game of Dungeons and Dragons. No one. I don't think it happens. I just don't think it happens. Anyway, it's fine that the story and plot are generic and somewhat foggy. Will it win awards and be lauded throughout time? No, but it won't go down as a failure and an embarrassment, further embarrassment to nerds everywhere like all those other Dungeons and Dragons movies. This was a fun time. It was, but it was also like, it was funny. And that was great. So I'm giving this a 7 out of 10. I had I'm teetering between a 7 and an 8. So it's pretty fun. What do you think, Bryce?
Yeah, I mean, we had a lot of fun. It was really surprising at how much we liked it. Me and Aaron saw it in the theater when it came out, and like, it was way better than I expected. And we had a real good time. We laughed a bunch. I will say, watching it a second time, didn't punch as hard as the first time, but yeah, I mean, as far as like a generic action fantasy adventure movie, it's really good. You know, the jokes work. I mean, they're not like crazy funny, but there's a couple moments that just stand out. Like there's a couple moments in here where the visual gags are so good and range from like slapstick to kind of subtle, that I appreciate it. And like I've played Dungeons and Dragons a couple times, shocker. But and like the popularity of stuff like Critical Role and kind of if you've consumed or seen any clips from professional D&D podcasts, like there's a whole meta appreciation of the movie where you see like how they're replicating the experience of playing the game. And it's not in your face, or like they don't hold your hand too much. It's more of a like
little nod.
Yeah, a little nod to like just absurd little stories or backgrounds of characters that like you would totally experience in a session with your friends. So
yeah,
in terms of like a score, I'm sitting about the same level, like somewhere between a 7 and 8. I'll lean towards an 8 just because I remember liking it so much in the theater.
Yeah, it was a real fun time. And now that you've put you've put my mind in that frame, I'm thinking back to those little moments of like, just like little thrown in things that don't end up going anywhere necessarily, but it's part of the experience.
Yeah, I mean,
game.
in terms of like action sequences, there's some like, well, we'll get into it in the spoiler, so I don't want to talk specifics, but like,
no,
there's very much like you feel the dice rolls a couple times. You feel like
but
this is a done deal, and then like, they rolled a 1,
Right, but not just the dice rolls, like the dungeon master.
Right.
And specifically, the thing that comes to my mind is it's just a little slice of life thing there, where Michelle Rodriguez, who by the way is in all the Fast and Furious movies, she's the strong girl, the generic stronger Hispanic stronger. You know who I'm talking about if you've lived on the earth. But she has this ex-boyfriend who's just a tiny kind of a halfling kind of guy, and she's just got a thing for little folks, and it's not, it doesn't really have anything to do with anything too much. It's just like, oh, weird, what a strange. But that's something a dungeon master would interject on you, It's like, yeah, so do you have preferences? And it's like, oh, yeah, that's a good point. I didn't really think about that in terms of my character, but I guess I do. And then it turns out to be weird for no particular reason. It's just to be kind of interesting. It's just a little thing that happens.
Yeah.
Anyway, good points. I had a really fun time. So, I'd say we're sitting around a 7 or an 8 on this one. It was pretty thick. It was pretty thick, which we definitely appreciate. You know what else we appreciate out here is paying listeners. Because we've been putting out a free show for 5 years now. Happy anniversary, Bryce. 5 years.
Oh yeah, it is our anniversary. I missed it. That would have been what was the official date? It was like July 28th.
Couple days ago. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, 5 years of free content out there for you. You get to listen to it all the time. It's a labor of love on our part. We have not made, we make money, but it goes towards paying people to make cool shit, to continue making the show good, to continue, entertaining you. So do consider just tossing us, $5-6 a month. We appreciate you, and you're not just throwing that money away either. You're getting lots and lots of bonus content every single week, every single month. So do what you can. We sure do appreciate it. And if you want to support us in other ways, you can go ahead and buy cool stuff on our shop. Hey, if you bought a shirt recently, I haven't forgotten about you. It's coming, baby. Getting it out there. Yeah.
Man.
So buy a shirt. And check out our resident artist who we pay to do this for us every month. So, and you can help pay Dustin if you check him out over at Instagram at dgoebel00 on Instagram. That's DGOEBEL00 on Instagram. Check him out. Tell him we sent you. Call us at 682-253-4468. Thank you so much for listening.
I just want to, I want to give one more plug before we jump into it, because I was thinking about it, like the Patreon specifically, like for people that are like, oh, I miss when they were doing all horror movies, you know. If you want more horror content, there's a certain level of our Patreon where there's a like a backlog of patron exclusive reviews.
He's right.
Like you can gorge yourself on those if you need a little taste. So check that out.
Look at these fiery backgrounds. I got a dragon behind me. He's got dragon's breath. Ooh. Okay, so with that, let's get into those spoilers. Boy, I'm trying to figure out what what day it is.
It is
I think
Wednesday, my dudes.
There it is. This is I really enjoyed the movie. I had a really fun time with it. It was a little long, but I'd say it earned it. It was I would imagine seeing it in theaters was just hilariously fun.
Yeah, it's one of those like where you appreciate seeing it with a group of people. Like
Yeah.
With
Without the credits, it ends up being about 2 hours flat. Maybe 2:05.
I didn't even realize it was that long.
And that's okay. But as I watched it though, Bryce, I was thinking, what are we going to talk about? Cuz so much of this movie is just like, wow, look at that. They have so many cool visual elements and ideas that aren't like the most important, but it's important in building this believable world into what will hopefully be, like a 20 movie franchise built in the fucking Dungeons and Dragons goddamn blah. But you know what I mean? There's just not. It's so thin when you look back at it. The through line is just like, the through line goes like this. Chris Pine is a thief, and they did a robbery with a band of other people to get a thing, and then because of it he loses his wife and he goes to jail. And then he tries to rebuild his life. This movie is him trying to like get his daughter back and bring his wife back from the dead. I don't know, but
yeah, I mean
it.
the opening, like we're introduced to these people in prison. They're thieves, and we get their backstory and their appeal or their what would you call it, parole committee. Or whatever, to decide whether they get to go free.
By the way, this dungeon they're in is so cool. Like,
yeah.
That's it. Just the opening scene. I'm like, oh, this is so fucking cool. Like,
yeah,
damn.
I mean, the one thing that comes through is like, oh, I don't know how much money they spent on this movie, but it was probably the perfect amount to where, like, it didn't feel cheap, and like it would throw out like CG elements or like these creatures that just felt like, oh, you're in this world, and it's they don't save like all of the budget until the big action sequences. Like it's good. So anyways,
150 million
right
budget.
So yeah, so we're introduced to the characters and then given the backstory, which sets up like that, he's been in prison away from his daughter and that his wife was murdered. And then basically the movie is a heist movie of trying to because they're thieves, they're trying to rob the coffers of this one tournament while also Chris Pine's character is trying to get this tablet that allows you to resurrect anyone
Right.
from the dead.
Get out of jail free tablet.
Right. So he's trying to get this tablet so he can resurrect his dead wife, which is also the tablet that got him put into prison. And wacky hijinks ensue. That's basically the movie.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I mean, in terms of like world building and like having a set of interesting characters with their own backstories and motivations, and an adventure with setbacks and breakthroughs, like it's really good. Like it seems it's very balanced, and nothing feels like heavy-handed or over the top. It feels like just a good balanced adventure movie.
Yeah.
The
Lots
real
of
enjoyment I get out of
Side
it,
quests.
yeah, the real enjoyment I get out of it is like several moments in the movie
Yeah.
that really stand out.
Oh man.
That are great. Number one being, and they're not even like super long or anything. It's more like either scenes or moments. But my favorite thing in the movie upon rewatching is this dragon behind us.
Oh yeah, the big fat dragon.
Yeah, it's a big, just morbidly or obese dragon.
It's such a cool choice. They make the dragon stands. No, I'm so glad you brought this up right now, because this dragon is you're going to describe this, but this dragon really does a good job of summarizing what they did right about this movie. In every element, they did this. So
Right.
the dragon stands kind of for the movie because they did such a good job. Go on.
Right. So they encounter this morbidly obese dragon, which is just a funny concept. It's just a funny
hilarious.
idea, and seeing it scrambling around. But my favorite part of it, like the part that I was like rolling and just on repeat viewings can appreciate more and more, is if anyone's owned a fat cat, like a really fat cat, it's obvious that they used a fat cat as like the model for this dragon, which is awesome. Like, because it falls on its back and it's just like splayed out, and it's like, a perfect fat cat oval. You know?
And it's a fat cat on a hardwood floor.
Yeah.
Yeah, specifically.
And then it's trying to jump up. Yeah. And it's too fat to like really fly, but it'll jump up and grab the countertop. And
it's still a cat.
Its legs.
So
is
it
like,
still possesses the baseline the baseline fitness of like
Right.
an Olympian.
Right.
It's just a fucking super fat Olympian.
Yeah. It's like if you have that much
Still a dragon.
small twitch, muscle energy and like the agility of a cat, but you're limited by the shape of your body. That, like, just that touch is so great of just like having a fat cat dragon is like chef's kiss.
Yeah.
Good choice.
Yeah, but they give it so much personality.
Right.
It's not a generic dragon. It's a specific dragon, it's what it needs to be. That's what every dragon needs to be. It's what every character needs to be interesting. Right. As soon as you have a bad guy that's generic, which is kind of the Red Wizards a little bit, doesn't really. I mean, it kind of works because it's a new and interesting-ish sort of bad guy, but it's a wizard and it's bad. Okay, not that big of a deal. But this thing where the dragon is very specific, And then there's another dragon much later in the movie that is specific and niche and
Yeah.
not a dragon. It is a statue, a rock statue of a dragon brought to life by magic.
Right.
And wow, and it's just that. It's exactly that.
Right. And then the other part that's really enjoyable is just Chris Pine's character. Like he's a very good lead, and it's a very good like charismatic character, which is like on the meta level you realize like he's playing a bard, which is borderline useless. Like I still don't understand like the place that a bard plays in Dungeons and Dragons, because I'd read through the summary and it's like, and this guy sings.
What they are is debuffers, buffers and debuffers, right?
Mm.
So they give everyone a boost.
Oh, okay, so they're just
Yeah.
like
Or
like
cast
an aura,
it, or
like
cast
an aura
it.
bot.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, so and that's fun, and like having his character like throughout the movie just basically try to justify his existence in the group.
Right.
Because like in every battle he's like just like running away or like dodging stuff, and then he'll like maybe land a really good hit with his loot.
Yeah.
But other than that, he's like just planning or like talking his way into situations, which is great. The other like the stand apart like visual gag is when they're, and I think this might even be in the trailer, but they project Chris Pine's character like playing the lute to distract the guards, and then the sorcerer or whatever that's projecting it gets distracted, and so it just loses fidelity, and it's like a glitched like CGI. What are those?
It's like experiencing lag in a video game, where someone just gets caught doing the same over and over and over again, and then distorting in a weird way. It's fabulous.
Yeah, it's like a Gmod kind of moment. Yeah, so it's great. The story is like it is generic in terms of the plot, but like the characters like are unique enough to keep you engaged. Like the fact that pretty much everyone related in it is more or less a morally ambiguous character, except for the exception being what's his name?
Grant.
The Zenk, the guy played by Reggie Jean Page. I don't even know how to pronounce his name. The guy from Bridgerton. He like comes in,
Not narrowing it down for old David there.
he's the black guy that comes in and like basically kicks ass.
Yes.
I don't know if he's a cleric or something. But
yeah, he's either a fighter or fighter or a cleric or something.
Yeah, so he comes in and he's like the generic good guy, humorless, unironic guy, but everyone else is pretty morally ambiguous and is basically a thief. And yeah, I think the decision for like the villain, I mean the big villain or who they fight in the end is that sorceress played by what's her name? Played by
Daisy Head?
Daisy Head? Yes. And we're both clicking at the same time.
Scanning for the white lady.
So like she's like the villain that they fight at the end, but the real villain is Hugh Grant,
Right.
which is a former like someone that they formerly were in a group with.
Right, someone
And
they trusted.
It's another great role for late stage Hugh Grant. I don't know if you've seen a lot of recent movies with Hugh Grant in them, but
No.
he's just having like a real fun time. like doing bit parts and parts that are against type. Probably one of my favorite ones recently, 2019, was The Gentleman. Did you ever see that one? It's the
I don't think so.
the Guy Ritchie one with Matthew McConaughey.
No. You know, I've been listened to a few different podcasts with McConaughey on him, and he's such a fucking weirdo. But he's got some real like Southern wisdom inside of him.
Right.
Like, it's undeniable that he's thought a lot in just a real douchey way.
Uh-huh.
You know? But damn, he's right about some stuff, which is a little unfortunate for. No, I haven't seen The Gentleman.
Yeah, I mean when you're an actor, like you gotta look at everyone that's an actor through the lens of the drama geeks in high school. It's like everything's a little bit cringe when they're being serious.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, because they're trying to project it through the performance aspect.
Remember, there used to be a birthday card that would be sold at like Spencer's, a place like Spencer's or something like that, with a dude with it, like a photo from the 1920s, and it was a dude in a big rubber suit that was all blown up. It was like a big balloon around a person, and the caption in the balloon of the birthday card said, "Richie liked the smell of his farts so much that he had a special suit made just to, you know." That's actors. They just they have a suit where they just get to just
Yeah, and they have a bubble formed around them.
nothing like us. We're very humble.
Yes.
And not that way.
Exactly. Anyways, the point
because
I was
we can
trying
see
to
it.
make is like Hugh Grant. He's had a couple roles where to get to type, like you should definitely see The Gentleman because he plays a very smarmy, like a-hole character, which he was all. I mean, this it's obvious to see that it's Hugh Grant, but like when you first see him in the movie, it's like he's almost unrecognizable just because it's not what you usually see Hugh Grant as.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's basically the real villain, which he took care of Chris Pine's daughter while he was in prison, but also you find out Feder lies about why her father was in prison, and then is helping out this sorceress for his own gain.
Right.
So he's the bad dude.
You know, no, you're right. You're right. It's just that the end battle falls upon these red wizards, and it's just.
But yeah, I mean, I'm just saying, like, it adds another layer of interest that most like action movies don't go, because it's like it's not one main villain. It's like a situation. They're fighting against a situation. So it's good.
Yeah, no, it's interesting that you kind of breezed by, but a thing that you said. The words you said were something like, "Chris Pine is just a good leading man," and I have those exact words written in my notes, which is Chris Pine is just a good leading man. But not only now it's occurring to me, and I don't know why it's just now it's occurring to me, but I did mention Star Trek. Getting to be, have a resurgence of interest by the general audiences, but he was the reason. I mean, him and, J.J. Abrams were the reason that Star Trek got to get back up on those feet, and now has like three new shows that are all kind of hits. Running at the same time. And that's all kind of like a big part of that is on Pine's shoulders. So it could be that I don't think this is this isn't like me saying some big, amazing, it's not like I'm saying something that no one else could figure out. But Chris Pine might be the guy that studios just turn to from now on to resurrect IP with a lot of potential. Just because he's everything that he's everywhere you jub. He's everywhere you want to be.
Yeah, I mean it helps that he's conventionally handsome and like has dramatic and comedic chops that can carry basically anything.
Great comedic chops. Really understands how to be funny while being handsome.
Right. I was just thinking, like, after watching this and the Barbie movie, like, they should have a Chris Pine and Ryan Gosling vehicle. Just have them be brothers. Two conventionally handsome, like, guys with comedic chops.
Remake that Heath Ledger movie, Jake Gyllenhaal movie, Brokeback Mountain.
Yes. Except go hard R on it.
Real hard. You know what I'm saying?
Rock hard.
Rock hard. Yeah, brother. Now we're getting into some real hetero-homo stuff. This is the most homo-hetero talk we've ever had.
Right.
In that it's... Dude, can you fucking imagine? I don't know, but in today's atmosphere, do you think it would be okay to make a movie about two white gay guys? I think that's way too...
That is interesting.
Too vanilla. Two handsome white gay guys? Ew.
No, I think that's the loophole is if it's an LGBTQ AI plus movie. Sorry, I had to take a breath in between that. Then you get a pass. You can do whatever you want in terms of casting.
Yeah, but I think that community, I think there's a rift forming between, there's the normies, which are just the fucking gays. The people who made it possible for the whole movement to goddamn exist. Those people. Between them and I don't know, these, some would say, numerically challenged groups. I'm kind of interested in this. No, but I think what people really want to see is Brokeback Mountain, but with Brendan Fraser dressed up as the whale and some, it's got to represent,
Yeah, well, it's got to be Brokeback Mountain, but with Brendan Fraser and then Lizzo playing a trans man.
Not anymore. Are you fucking, what's the matter with you? Holy shit. Listen to this goddamn, God, you are so old. Lizzo's out, buddy.
Yeah, I heard that. See, here's the thing about TikTok as an old man.
Here's the thing.
Like, this is like the most valuable part of TikTok is to just be bombarded one day with like, this is what we're talking about now. All Lizzo all the time. And you have no context of like, see, there's no time for news to spread. So you don't actually hear the news story ever. Like, you never hear like, this thing happened to these people. All you hear now instantly, the only thing in your feed is reactions to the thing that happened.
Yeah.
And so like, I have no real idea. I guess like Lizzo's being sued by some of her other fat dancers that she was being a bully about or something.
Yeah.
Which
you gotta listen to Moist Critical, Penguins Zero, talk about. So the most recent thing with
Penguins Zero,
Lizzo.
is that the guy with the long hair that I hate?
Yeah, I love that guy. I've loved that guy for fucking decades. That's how old he and I are. Oh, are you just gonna pull up a picture of me? Is that the guy with the long hair that I hate?
was an extra in the Hunger Games.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was pulling up his YouTube channel.
Moist Critical.
There's something about this guy and guys like this that bother me so much. Like,
is it the hair? Is it the dark hair? The beard and mustache.
Here's the thing. To be this successful at social media, to like have millions of subscribers, like
You would rather him be a hot girl?
you have to have like a layer of vanity and self-importance that fuels like just enough narcissism to like push you to success. And so when you see a guy like this that has like the long hair and the white t-shirt, he just looks like just a guy. But then you look closer and it's like his beard's a little too, manicured, and everything's just so with his like persona, and his delivery is just,
What kind of fake baloney are you getting mad at? You are fabricating a reason to hate this man.
I'm just saying how I just calls how I sees it.
It's so much more earnest than all of the other ones.
Sure, that's what he wants you to think.
Fuck up, what the fuck? Look at you with your combed hair. You put makeup on. What are you talking about?
I know you got to do what you got to do. But
so what's the? This is too much. Oh man. Wow, we're down a rabbit hole now.
He wears. It's like watching someone that understands personal branding, and the personal brand is to portray that you don't care.
But your evidence for that is that he trims his beard.
Well, here's he wears a white t-shirt in every video. It's like that's a choice. That doesn't happen.
So he can't make choices. We're supposed to be making those choices. It was brought to our attention today by our social media guy. That's like, you guys, you're not doing anything, huh?
Well, I'm sorry that you feel like I'm attacking your favorite person. Like I didn't realize that you had such feelings.
No,
for
it's fine
Zero.
it's fine to dislike critical, but
It's
the reasoning
okay.
for it that you're giving is so big. Like he wears a white shirt and trims his beard. It's just
that's
like
not the only reason. It's just like it's that thing. I'm cluing into the thing that bothers me or like sets off my spidey sense about someone.
that they have to be intentional with their image.
Let me finish talking.
Okay.
I mean, the real thing is like I don't like his content. I think like his takes aren't good, or they're lazy, or like it's like kind of edgelordy content, which is like
Yes.
that's
it is that.
what bothers me most. But the edgelordy content combined with this, like, to me, super cultivated, like, image to show, like, I don't even give a fuck, dude. Like, anyone that you see that has the appearance of not giving a fuck, like, gives way too much fucks. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, people that are goth, it's like, it's a counterculture thing where it's like, I don't even care
goth
about.
is not a trend that I would point to as people who don't give a fuck.
Right, but I mean, or like punk, or like these like counterculture things where it's like, I don't even give a fuck what you think about me. I'm going to do what I want. And it's like, but you're doing the exact same thing that all the other counterculture people are doing, and shopping in all the same stores and look exactly the same. So it's like,
You just have all these white shirts laying around.
yeah, maybe you give a fuck. Like, I don't want to burst your bubble, but I think you might give a fuck. I think you give a lot of fucks about how you portray yourself.
Wow. Well, this
I mean, everyone
could
does
be,
it. I'm not
well,
saying.
yeah. I mean, everybody cares. You know. I mean,
Right.
Yeah. Sure. Controversial stuff.
I'm
in
sorry
any-
I had criticized your boyfriend. We can move on. We can leave this.
Oh, thank you. I'm very upset about you criticizing Moist. You've definitely pegged me.
You want to be pegged by moist.
Yeah, I do, and that's why this is such a sticking point for me. Jesus. Woo! Okay, so I don't even know where to go from here.
So, yeah, one of the things I wanted to talk about is like Dungeons and Dragons has been tried before and failed
Several
horribly.
times.
It's one of the like touchstone terrible movies
Yeah, very
that has
bad.
ever been made. The 2000 Dungeons and Dragons starring. Do
No
you know
one.
who it was starring?
It didn't star anyone.
Marlon Wayans
Oh, okay.
and Justin Whalen, which you might recognize from
But nothing really.
nothing, really.
Yeah.
He was in Child's Play 3
Yeah, okay.
and Serial Mom. He's like got a recognizable face. It's like you're like, hey, that's not quite River Phoenix. And then the villain was Jeremy Irons in it, but
Jeremy Irons.
It-
where do I know Jeremy Irons from?
he voiced Scar in The Lion King.
Yeah, okay.
He's just like a very generic looking evil British man in all the movies. Yeah, so like there's such a stink on Dungeons and Dragons as being like a super nerdy IP and like just a failure at the box office. Just like people don't want fantasy. Like it's very hard. There's like moments in time where fantasy works in movies,
Yeah.
and it's like it has to rely on big IP. Like Lord of the Rings stands alone, and then everything that came after Lord of the Rings that tried to capitalize on the popularity of fantasy didn't really work for several years, and then Game of Thrones came on, and Game of Thrones like blew it away, and then everything that's like trying to ride the coattails of Game of Thrones is kind of failing. And so like why now? Like why does this movie work right now, and like why was there enough people that cared enough to go see it?
Stranger Things.
And I think it's because of the popularity of podcasts like Critical Role and what's the other big
Yeah,
one?
those D&D.
Yeah, the D&D podcasts that are big that have like a high production value, and I mean they've made an Amazon animated series based off of Critical Role's like adventures.
Wow.
And so those are so popular. You get like funny people, like good people that are good at improv,
Yeah.
and comedians and that are really good at D&D, like obsessively good, and it's very entertaining. And so there's this mass popularity of watching people play D&D. It's a weird like subgenre of podcasts. Like it's the same thing with horror movie podcasts, where it's like there's such a appetite for content around it that like people are just looking for more and more. But so I think that's like where the popularity comes from, and it's Dungeons and Dragons has gotten like mass appeal from it. Like my daughter really wants to play Dungeons and Dragons, like, and we have the starter set, and the problem is Dad, because Dad has to be the dungeon master. It's so daunting to be like, I've played this once or twice to being in control, because I don't know about you, but when you played, did you have any idea what the fuck was going on in terms of like mechanics? And
I didn't.
rules?
Not only did I not know, I didn't care at all. I did not. There was no way to make me care, and I knew that going in. I knew it was going to be that. But the people around me, I also looked at them and were like, they care. Look at them caring, and so I was just like, they'll care for me. and I'll do fun things. I'll just yell, I'll just yell a lot. That'll work, And then sure enough, in a room full of quiet people who care, all you have to do is be loud, and they're like, "Oh, thank God," and then everything else is forgiven. They're just like, "Oh," I'm like, "Which dice do I roll?" And they're like, "It's a die, and it's this one." And I'm like, "All right," and then I throw it, and I'm like, "Can you just roll it for me?" Like, I don't even really want to. I'm just here for the free pizza.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's kind of like the cultural moment, and it works. Like like they finally figured out that like whoever was put in charge of writing and directing or like producing it, like they kind of cracked the code of like, okay, if we're going to use this IP of Dungeons and Dragons, like let's focus on what people like about it and put that into the movie, not in like a hackneyed way, but in a way where it winks at the audience that likes Dungeons and Dragons enough to be like, they will accept this.
Right.
Because it's so easy. Like, basically what Dungeons and Dragons, the game, does is try to emulate and give the experience of being in a generic fantasy movie. So if you're trying to, for the player, so if you're trying to make a Dungeons and Dragons movie, what you're going to end up is being just a generic fantasy movie.
Right.
Like, so without like putting like the nods and stuff in it, doesn't really work. So like, yeah, the moments where it's like, this feels like gameplay, where it's like, there's a thing or a callback of Holga fighting with potatoes.
Yeah.
Where it feels like, you're in the situation and the player is like, do I still have my potato with me? And they're like, yes, you still have your potato. It's like, okay, throw the potato at the guard's face, and then they do a roll. It's like, you gotta, natural crit.
A crushing potato to the face. A potato that melts the face right off this
Just
person.
An amazingly hit potato where you're like, okay, somehow that worked. And then later it's called back, which is exactly what would happen in gameplay.
Yeah.
Or stuff like Chris Pine's character, like whacking the sorceress with his lute, to where he actually throws her off. It's like, you see the critical hits, and then you also see the critical failures. Like when the good guy sorcerer, throws the dragon or whatever away, but then the rope is wrapped around his leg.
Yeah.
That's wrapped around the dragon, so he gets dragged. So it's like, you see the critical failures. Like, oh no, he rolled a 1. So he that hurt him more than it hurt the thing. Yeah. And so like those moments in there are sprinkled throughout where there's just a meta appreciation if you've played or understand what the source material is.
Yeah, no, it's true. And there's lots of little if you look closely, it feels like the movie has a bunch of nods, just like what you're talking about, a bunch of little nods and homages and stuff. Like when they go into that in that one dungeon, there, that part in Spaceballs where they meet Mel Brooks and he's Master Yoda, but there's that big statue of him, Yogurt.
Yeah, he's Yogurt.
Yeah, there's that big statue of him. There's a bunch of those statues, those like almost exact statues. I was like, hey, it's Mel Brooks from Spaceballs statue.
Right.
And so there's just little like fun nerd trivia sprinkled throughout. But also the comedy in this is fucking deadly funny. There's an owl bear. There's this girl who is a shapeshifter, and she can shift into this super cool and like so satisfying monster of an owl of a owl that is in the that is the size and shape of a bear.
Right. Yeah, I mean, that's one of the other things about, like, the property or using the IP is that they use the off-the-shelf, like, animals and monsters.
Gelatinous
and
cubes.
The gelatinous cubes, like the mimics. Like,
The mimics.
all that stuff is, like, sprinkled throughout, and it's not, like, made a big deal of. It's, like, just, yeah, that exists in the world.
Yeah.
Like, and anyone that plays Dungeons and Dragons understands, like, what that is.
In a badly made version of this movie, they would walk, the group would be deadly serious, walking through a dark hallway. They would see a chest, and then one of the characters would stoop to open the chest, and someone else would go, "No, do not open that chest. You run the risk of running into a mimic." What is a mimic? It is a monster that camouflages itself as a chest of gold, and it has teeth and a tongue. And then as he's describing that, behind the person who's talking, you see the eyes open, and then it goes rawr. But in this, it's just, there's chests. You as a participating audience member who knows a little bit of something about D&D goes, I wonder if one of those is going to be a mimic. And then one turns out to be a mimic, and then that's all. It's just...
Yeah, and for people that don't know D&D, it's just a moment that you're like, whoa, catches you off guard.
Yeah.
And it's just, it is part of the world. Yeah, I mean, like, this type of movie is, like, prone to suffering to the Marvel comedy writing style, which is just the easiest joke that comments on how absurd what they're going through is. And I just appreciate that it doesn't do that too much, you know?
Right.
It lets itself rely on itself, and it's not like, he's right behind me, isn't he? Like, you know?
Yeah, no, so much of this comedy is physical, which is hard, you know?
Yeah.
It's and that owlbear moment at the end. I rewound it 30 times. I was just like, yeah, I want to see that, because it's impressive in its violence and its savagery, but also it's just hilariously funny. Like,
Yeah.
he's just crushing, just bang, 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 like, just crushing this person into the dirt, into their head, just like. I laughed and laughed. I could not stop laughing.
Yeah.
But also, I can't really overstate this. Like, some of the stuff that they come up with, the puzzles that they have to deal with, are fun to watch them deal with.
Yeah.
They get a rod that is basically, you know, if you've played Portal or Portal 2, it's just a portal gun is all this rod is. And they have the coolest, you know how when you played Portal and you were like, damn, what a fucking crazy concept that you can... How many cool puzzles can you come up with this unique concept of being able to make a portal over here and a portal over here, and if you walk into this one, you walk through that one?
Yeah.
Well, as it turns out, you can make infinite, amazing, very fun to watch situations with just this simple concept, and they do it so well in this movie. It's so satisfying.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. It's really good. So, yeah, I'm glad that you liked it. I'm glad that, like, it wasn't that I didn't oversell it or anything, that you're able to appreciate it.
Oh, so much fun. The gelatinous cube escape
Yeah.
was, I mean, it was just fucking cool. It's exactly how you would play a game of D&D, I assume, because...
I'm not a fucking nerd.
I don't know for sure. I just showed up and rolled some dice when people said, hey, it's your turn. Yeah, man. To be honest, though, I was at the tail end of being able to enjoy such a thing when we did that, because we played in the same group, and now I just couldn't do it. It's just going into the late night, like, I can't stay up anymore, and then eating all that sugary food just makes me feel like absolute fucking actual shit, like diarrhea. Like, I'm just like, oh, I just feel funny. And then caffeine at night, like, it's just all unbearable now. So
Yeah,
I'm glad
I
we
feel
had that.
well. I'm gonna have to do it because my daughter is angling for a game, and we bought it for her for Christmas, and we still haven't played it. So it's like, fuck. I got the beginner's version, so it should be pared down. But even that, it's like, it's too complicated. It is a game for nerds. It's a game for people that
want to do the game.
love minutia, like min-maxing nerds. It's the ultimate version of being able to min-max off of obscure mechanics.
Yeah, there's
and-
games like
and items.
there's games like poker or Monopoly that's just in the zeitgeist. But
Right.
not only is it just in the zeitgeist and you just understand it,
Right.
it is simple.
Right.
Conceptually,
Right.
you have X amount of hands that you can show, and that's it.
Right.
One beats the other, and and then you fake, you lie,
Right.
And then there's, well, you can make a card game, a unique card game in this tabletop game on the fly.
Yeah.
You can make up a game that doesn't exist in a game of D&D and play it in the game in this game. And if that sounds fucking complicated and impossible to understand, it's because it's really, really complicated.
Right.
Yeah, it's really something for people who want to play it.
It's true. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not something you can casually sit down and do just because you want to be social.
Yeah. I think it's one of those things where you can enjoy it as a general audience, this movie.
Oh yeah.
And you can also enjoy D&D just by watching people play it on those professional podcasts. And
But
eventually
there's so
you'll get
many
to a point.
ways.
You'll get to a point where like, well, I want to do that. And then you realize how complicated it is, and you're like, yeah, maybe I just like listening to it.
But there's so many ways now. It's such a great time to be just a person who enjoys downtime now, because it's almost too good. And to be honest, it is too good, because if you want to enjoy D&D, you no longer have to learn all the rules of D&D. Although that is an option. You can do that and have a great time. You can also listen to people play D&D, watch them play D&D. You can buy a card game that's infinitely simpler and allows you to collect cards. You can buy you can buy Baldur's Gate 3, the sponsor of this episode, on Steam or PS5 and play. And literally, in Baldur's Gate 3, you can customize the size, shape, length, girth, bush of your dick. All of it. I'm not joking. You can have a big swinger. You can have a fat, chubby one that supports itself out all the way out. You can do this just in the character creation screen of Baldur's Gate 3. In fact, you never have to play. There's no right way to play a video game about Dungeons and Dragons, because it's so in depth that you can just do the character creation and just make his dick go back and forth 35,000 times and call that a day. You can enjoy this media any way you want, including in a movie. That's the lowest stakes possible. You can turn it off and walk away and fall asleep 3 times like I did, like I didn't do. So yeah, I think this is such an easy general audience's crowd pleaser. I would recommend this to anybody who doesn't take anybody who can watch a PG-13 movie can watch this movie and have a good time. So
Yeah.
So with that, there it is. Dungeons and Dragons: Honor Among Thieves. Do I have a bloody nose? I don't think so. But you know what's next is our big segment full of big We've been running a train on this list of whores for a long time. People, oh no, this first one from June 29th looks to be a 3-minuter. That means they got cut off. That means they got cut off by the timer. So listen, if you're going to call whores, the Whores line, which, by the way, is 682-253-4468. Call us, get on the show. If you're going to call that, though, have a little bit of a script. Maybe think it through a little. I know we've been lax for many years on this, but it's starting to irritate me. So maybe we'll press stop.
We'll have to like start doing the radio DJ thing where we just cut you off after a minute and just criticize you.
Oh, that was a long one.
All right, we'll see how far we get through this one.
Yeah, what is this?
Hey guys, this is Eric David Wallace from Seattle, Washington. I am a film director myself. I'm actually working on a goblin horror film out here in Seattle. It's going to be shooting in 2024.
Are you trying to get free press on this whole thing?
Rink, and I loved your talk. Thank you very much. I have to say I agree with you guys. I really loved the cinematography. First of all, I want to point that out. And I love the direction, the sound. It was very creepy, but, about halfway through the movie, I was starting to do some stretches. I pulled out my guitar. I'm a very patient watcher and a filmmaker, so, there's a lot I can get out of it. But up to a certain point, I think just, it was brave what this filmmaker did. I have a lot of respect for the guy.
So brave.
I think it was really cool that he was able to get a movie like that into the theaters and get distribution and, make over $1 million for such a small budget. $15,000, I think, was the budget, which is just really cool. It's just really impressive. So I'm in a similar situation myself. I'm in the process of
All right.
trying to get my movie financed, and
All right. So I gotta ask a question. That's not going on for 3 fucking minutes while you promote your movie. I'm sorry. I mean, I hope you keep calling in and stuff, but look, you want to promote your movie on the show, you come to us.
It's clever. Game sees game.
Game sees game. But we got fucking Baldur's Gate 3 over here, so come on, you gotta come in with a little bit of something. It wasn't really brave, Bryce. Do you think Skinamarink was brave? Or do you think it was just a fucking shot in the dark that happened to land on the supreme stupidity of general audiences?
I think, here's the thing. There is some level where I really respect Skinamarink. Mm-hmm. And it's the same level that you enjoy heist movies at. It's like, these are deplorable characters, but they're getting one over on someone. And like, there's something about of watching con men that's very satisfying. And on that level, you gotta admire Skinamarink for just being just a fantastic con. Like, no actual
right. Okay, good. We're landing in the same
value.
Place. I was gonna say I respect it in the same way that I respect street hustlers.
Right, exactly.
Which is like,
keep your eye on the queen.
Yeah. There's 8 people here standing around watching it, and they're all in on it, and you're the rube. You are.
Right. So there's, on that level, yes, it's one of the most successful scams I've ever seen in the theater. Like,
yeah, bravo. You went to the theater?
I did. Oh my god. It was such a dodged bullet because
terrible.
It was I was at work. It was in the last on-site thing at my work. So everyone was in from out of town. And I had a coworker, Jordan, was on one of our episodes recently. Mm-hmm. I was like, oh, that'd be cool to there's a couple people that I know have listened to the show at least a couple times. So we're all here. Why don't I just invite people out to go see the movie that I have to see
make
tonight?
It, Bryce. Sorry.
And it was Skinamarink at Fox Tower Theater in Portland. And everyone didn't want to go to a movie that night. They wanted to do actual social things. And I was, a little hurt. But then I watched the movie. I'm like, oh, thank God.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Waves of
it would have been
washing over
so much worse to be like, I'm making someone sit through this.
I'm so sorry.
I honestly don't
so sorry.
I don't know what would be worse, having like 3 people from work join me to go see this movie and then watch slowly as each of them left an hour into it and left me alone.
My dick is
to my
inside
fate.
my chest cavity right
Or
now. My dick has
I
left
think the much
building.
worst fate is if they stayed because of me.
Oh. Oh. This is the worst. Oh, man. Oh, man. Okay. No.
Yeah.
You know what? It's interesting, though. Fox Tower is like low-key one of my favorite theaters because it's generally creepy. Like, I don't, like, you got to go up an escalator. It's in a big building that's kind of empty feeling. It's in the middle of Portland, though, and it's always at night.
Yeah.
And when you walk out, there's a real good chance you're going to be stabbed.
Well, now, yeah.
Eesh.
More true now. Like
Well, always true, but more true.
I mean, I remember I have really fond memories of Fox Theater because it's, you know, the movie that the theater that shows a lot of independent,
Yeah.
you know, and art films.
We saw Suspiria 2018, Lighthouse. We saw another one I can't remember.
Yeah, but I mean, I remember I watched Requiem for a Dream there. I watched Memento.
Wow.
Yeah, I watched like every like touchstone art film in my teenage years. I saw it at Fox Tower because that's the only place that you could see them.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a good theater. But yeah, Skinamarink, it's a scam. It's, you know, I can enjoy it on that level, but I can never imagine sitting through and watching the corner of a ceiling for 2.5 hours again.
Yeah, and if you want to promote your movie, hey, come to us, info@horrormovietalk.com. I'm serious. If you want us, you know, if you want us to talk about your movie, hit us up. We'll work something out, and it'll be reasonable.
All right, let's go on to the next caller.
Hey, dude. It's Eddie from Maryland, calling you from.
Are you reading the transcript?
Yeah, it's Peppa Pig from Maryland.
Peppa Pig from Maryland. That was what that was all summarized as.
Burkittsville. Well, close to it enough. Anyway, it's the 4th of July, and I just watched Jaws a little bit earlier, Independence Day, which I wish you guys would have reviewed this year, but that's cool. And now I'm watching Dazed and Confused on DVD, and I just saw a trailer for, what's it called? Quantum Leap. And it made me think of Bryce, and I felt like calling you and letting you know. So, cool. Bryce, you're the best. Quantum Leap, I've never seen it, and I don't care to see it in the future, but I still love you for it, and I'm here to support you. Love you guys. David, you also rock.
Thanks.
See you, Elizabeth. Happy 4th, everybody. Have a great day. Ed B out.
Thanks, Ed B.
Like, I think, listen, I'm a Quantum Leap stan. The original, I guess they came out with a new one that, from all accounts, is terrible.
Oh. Does it have Scott Bakula?
No, it doesn't.
Oh, well.
Yeah. I mean, the real takeaway of Quantum Leap is that you'll just become a Scott Bakula and, what's his name? Dean Harry. No, I can't remember his name. The guy that plays Al. Like, you'll be a real fan of them because it's fun. It's a good sitcom, basically.
Al from Home Improvement?
No, Al from Quantum Leap.
Oh.
Anyways, like if you think you're too good for Quantum Leap, then you're gonna miss out on
here we go.
gems like this one.
Yeah, here it is.
I'm retarded?
that's not the actual clip. I think
Fucking mainstream television.
I'm retarded?
you got to get the right music.
This was formative for Bryce because we haven't talked about this in forever, but Bryce's true ultimate terror is touching mentally disabled people because he's worried that it might rub off on him. Saying it out loud.
You know, the
It's
science
funny every time.
David, the science is inconclusive. You know, it's some people get scared of someone breaking into their house and murdering their family at night.
Oh, I cried
I get
when I learned that.
scared of mentally handicapped people touching me.
Well,
On one hand, like
Well,
those hands are definitely going to be sticky. I know from experience. And then also, you never know. You might catch it.
did
That's
you
all I'm
ever
saying.
wonder if you were retarded and no one was ever told you? Well, Bryce,
It's true.
I got bad news. No, you know, actually, it's interesting. I've been watching Scott Bakula's only other big show, which is Star Trek Enterprise, and it's great.
Whoa. He was also in Jag.
Oh, yeah, no, I guess he was in Jag, huh? Jags doesn't really. I mean, it was big at the time, but it doesn't really hold a long-term candle. I feel like Quantum Leap or Enterprise does, but Enterprise, by far the strongest start. By far the strongest first season of any of these Rick Berman, so Voyager or Deep Space Nine or TNG. By far the strongest first season. Gets it right out the gate. Slows down a little bit in season 2, but still good. So yeah, Scott Bakula holding it together.
Yeah. Give Quantum Leap a chance. You know, you got to go into it understanding that it's a product of the 90s. But there's a lot of good stuff in the 90s.
80s and 90s or just 90s?
It started in 89, apparently.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, it's one of those... It's such a great formula. I can't believe that no one's brought it back and convincingly. Anyways, next voicemail.
Good afternoon, stud. It's your boy, Dick Manfrey. I was listening to your Omen review, and just heard the part where David Day said that he's been bit by lots of dogs. So I know a little bit about your past. You used to be like a lumberjack dude. Nice, sweaty, hot, fucking half unbuttoned flannel lumberjack who's swinging around your, ball, axe, whatever. Yeah, man. What else do you do? Were you a mailman? Were you a fucking T-800 Terminator? I don't know. And, yeah, I don't know. I've had too much caffeine today. Right? Hope you're doing well. Love you both. And take care, boys.
I know a lot about your background. You were a lumberjack. Wrong.
Yeah.
Close.
Yeah,
close.
No, I mean, I did trails for the and wildland fire for the United States Forest Service, which is a department of the Department of Agriculture. But and then I have done a lot of different things. I was a farmhand right out of when I was in high school, and I did electrical stuff, construction for 5 or 6 years. After that, and then I did the Forest Service, and then I worked in kind of like IT, and then I started going to some different places, and I've done a lot of different stuff. So that's true. But dogs, I wasn't a professional get bit by dog guy, but it just happened. If you grow up in a rural place, all you have to do is walk long county roads, and these places don't have decent fences. They just got I don't know. They just got shitty fences, so the dogs get out and they run up and bite you because they're protecting their property, because people don't walk by these properties except for kids on walks, I guess.
I didn't hear any of that because I was distracted. I have to submit a formal apology. Scott Bakula was not on JAG. I'm trying to find the show that I'm thinking of, and I could have sworn he was in some kind of procedural in the 2000s, but apparently he was in NCIS New Orleans.
New Orleans?
From 2014 to 2021, which is way more recent than I thought it was. Yeah, confused. Wasn't there? I thought he was. I could have sworn he was on JAG.
Lord of Illusions.
Okay, moving on. Thanks for your call.
I know what I was going to say now. I think I was going to say, maybe, David, your ass is just delicious. I don't know.
There you go. Yeah, true.
I've never been bit by a dog.
You've never been bit by a dog?
Never been bit by a dog. I had a companion on my mission that got bit by the bishop's dog, which was a fun story.
Did he have to get rabies shots?
No, I don't think so. It was swept under the rug. No, it was like one of these situations. It's like you just, whenever a pet owner says like, "Oh, he's friendly, he's just all bark and no bite," like, no, you fucking people, like, it's an out of control dog. Out of control dogs will bite. Like, we'd roll up to their house, and they'd have these two black dogs roaming their lot and would be so aggressive and like snarling and barking at us, and they'd be like, just walk up confidently, just act like you're here, and they'll be okay.
And here's what you hear in the background. He's fine. He's fine. He's fine. He's fine. He's real nice.
Yeah, it's
Listen,
literally
bitch.
like, just walk out and ignore them and walk up to us, and once you get to us, they'll see that you're friendly. And
if you ever, listen to me, if
you do that 3 times, and then one of them just eventually comes up and bites my companion in the ass, and I think it broke skin. So it's like a legitimate bite. And you're like, okay.
If you listen, if you're a
your dogs
owner,
are dangerous, a kid is going to come up and get really hurt and mauled, and what is your excuse going to be at that point?
I have so much to say about dog owners because there are so many dog owners who are just flat out not responsible with their dog ownership. Like, they have so many needs, but I'm not going to say all that shit. All I'm going to say is, if you ever find yourself saying, he's fine, it's fine, and yelling at someone else about how fucking fine everything is, things aren't fine for the other person. They're not. And that's why you're saying it's fine.
Yeah.
It's because it's not fine. And if you have your fucking dog off a leash in a public space and it comes up to my kid, I will kick it in the head as hard as I can every time. And that dog will be like, what happened? And it'll be your fault. And I'll fucking laugh. Ooh, I hate that shit. I hate it. I hate that shit. It's like my biggest fucking anger.
Hey, this is Sam from Indianapolis. I realized a lot of my calls lately have been very dog movie centric. So I just want to say that a really good dog movie you guys should watch and do an episode on is called Love on a Leash. If you don't know anything about it, I would suggest watching it without learning anything about it, and then do a deep dive about it online on Wikipedia about it, because it's a fucking bonkers movie, and the whole story behind it is even more fucking bonkers. But yeah, it's called Love on a Leash. Check it out, and I'll let you guys know the next dog movie I'll watch.
Could it really compete with Tiptoes, though? Like,
Can it? Can anything compete with Tiptoes?
The answer is no.
He really does like dog movies a lot. I wonder if he actually watches them.
Love on a Leash.
I started Caddyshack. You realize I never had seen Caddyshack? I started it last night.
Oh, yeah?
Never seen it.
You didn't
Been
finish
kinda
it?
trying to go. No, I started falling asleep, but I'm gonna finish it. Trying to make my way through as many Rodney Dangerfield movies as I can. Which there's a surprising there's not as many as you would think. He was a little bit discriminating. Weirdly.
Caddyshack is one of those where it's like the talk around it is so it's like one of these holy comedy movies, and you watch it and it's just all right. Like, I guess
just a fun movie.
Yeah, it has a couple good moments in it that everyone quotes, and the rest of the movie is just
it's literally. Yeah, it's literally Billy Madison or Happy Gilmore. It's just for Gen X, you know.
Right. Yeah. All right, are we going to try to get through all of these? We could pump them out.
No,
I think they're all pretty short.
No,
like
I think we're done. No, we're done.
Come on, 50, 40,
it is the
17,
end.
1?
I'm gonna hit stop. We're done. Okay, everybody, have a great week, have a great month, have a great year. Support us if you can over at their patreon.com/horrormovietalk. We love you. We appreciate you. We want to kiss you with our mouths. And I hope you have a good week, and I hope you be kind to others, and I hope you share the show, and I hope you give us lots of money, and I hope that we become friends. Okay, bye. I love you. Bye.
Bye.
Good day, sir. Good day, sir. You lose. You get nothing. Is that the main coat? Yes, it is.
I just took a stroll through the scraggly woods.
He had no face.
Horror.
Wow, that didn't sound good.